Thank you so much for coming tonight. My name is Karen Goff. I am the guidance coordinator and one of the guidance counselors here. Take a minute to introduce all of our fine counselors here. We have Dan Carlin, Mike Ruska, Caitlin Raymond, and Amanda Zagami, formerly Amanda Bernard. We did not hire a new counselor. We just had one that got married. Congratulations. And I'd like to certainly thank our representatives for coming here tonight. We have Liza Goodman from the College of Holy Cross. We have Shannon, sorry, I should put my glasses on. Shannon Fernando Cole from Bridgewater State University. We have Asia DePass from University of Vermont. We have Phil Baird from University of Massachusetts Amherst, and Mark Donnelly from Northeastern University. So before we get started, I just kind of want to touch base about what we've been doing so far this year to get all the juniors prepared for the college application process. The counselors have gone into the English classrooms and they provided a presentation to all of the students and went over soup to nuts on all of the post-secondary planning. We talked about applying to a 2-year college, certainly a 4-year college, but we also talked about trade schools, apprenticeship options, and just getting students prepared for whether they want to go into the military, straight to work, or enter college. In addition, we are having one-on-one meetings with all of the students, and during those meetings, all the students will get a copy of that handout that we passed out tonight. We certainly think it's helpful for parents to have that, so you know what to do and when, so that way everyone's kind of on the same page and not, wondering if you're missing anything. And during those meetings, what we do with the students is go through their SCORE, which is our new online program that has replaced Naviance, and that allows us to do college searches and create college lists and help students make sure that their lists are perfect for them. And of course, if students have questions anytime, they're welcome to come back to their guidance counselor. They can make an appointment whenever they want, and if you as parents have questions, feel free to reach out anytime. But without further ado, I'd like to give each of our representatives an opportunity to talk about their school, introduce themselves, and just kind of share all the good things that they have to offer at their schools, and then we'll kind of get into the nitty-gritty with our questions that we have. And feel free to chime in if you have a question as we're going and that you'd like to get asked. Feel free just to raise your hand and we will certainly call on you. Who would like to begin?
Can you guys hear me? There we go. I'm with Bridgewater State University. So we are a mid-size state university. We're very local, so we're about 35 minutes away. As I said, mid-sized campus. We have about 10,000 undergraduate students on campus. We do offer housing for our students. We have over 90 clubs and organizations on campus and over 100 areas of study. We have opportunities for internships, study abroad, undergraduate research. We have an honors program on campus. We have an early action deadline and a regular decision deadline, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. And we do offer tours daily, Monday through Friday. We do select Saturday tours as well, and we do offer tours throughout the summer. So we certainly encourage you to come check us out at some point. Thank you for having us.
Hi everyone, my name is Asia. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an admissions representative from the University of Vermont. I did the drive today, beautiful, beautiful. It was about 3.5 hours when I drove at 9 a.m. from Vermont. But give or take with traffic, it could be about 4.5 from here. And we're in Burlington, Vermont, so it's the biggest city in the state of Vermont. It's the tech hub, it's the business hub for the state of Vermont. I will admit, it's not a city like Boston. It's about 50,000 folks, give or take. But it's really nice because you get the city vibe, that downtown vibe, but then you have the mountains and the Lake Champlain right at your fingertips. You can see the Adirondack Mountains of New York from our campus, the Green Mountains of Vermont from our campus. The closest slope is about 30 minutes away to go skiing, snowboarding. So you kind of get a good balance, downtown life and also nature right there. But I think it's with our location, we still have our own kind of classic college campus, brick and mortar on a hill, 460 acres. We have a big green campus, and then you just walk down the hill and you hit downtown Burlington, keep on walking at the water. We have about 11,600 undergrads, a little under 2,000 graduate students, and then a medical school on our campus as well with about 500 students. Average class size about 35 students, but 40% of our classes are about 20 students or less. We are a public research university. We're the flagship for the state of Vermont, but about 80% of our students come from out of state, and actually our incoming class was 40 or 50% out of New England. So students are coming from far and wide to UVM, so it's a really great place to live and learn. Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Mark. I'm with Northeastern University. We are located on Huntington Avenue in Boston, across the street from the Museum of Fine Arts. Where should I start? We have, so right now, if you apply to Northeastern, you have multiple locations to study. We have 4 undergraduate campuses. I'm sorry, pardon me. So Boston is our original campus. We now have campuses in Oakland, California. We have one in London, and our newest one is in New York City. So there are many, many different places you can study as part of the Northeastern community. Across our campus network, we offer 325 different programs. Among those, we have 120 combined majors, which are similar to a traditional double major, but essentially the faculty have designed them to share a certain number of core and elective classes, so you essentially get kind of a buy one, get one when you're in one of those programs, and one class may go towards both degrees. So essentially you can leave with a dual degree for the same really time and cost of doing a single degree. So it's something that's very, very popular with our students. We have 4 admissions rounds. We have early decision 1 and 2, early action, and regular decision. So those are all, again, it's up to families. If you want to look at an early decision opportunity, we do offer that. What we are probably best known for is our experiential learning model. Sort of our premier program is our co-op program, where students go out for 6 months at a time, usually twice in their experience with us, where they'll work full-time for a company or an agency directly related to what they're majoring in. So for those 6 months, they are working full-time, 40 hours a week. They're not taking classes, they're not paying tuition. They're earning whatever salary that job was posted for, but most importantly, they're hired as a full-time employee. So they're doing the same job as other young workers, and they will definitely put that job on a resume. We have many study abroad options. We have research options and service opportunities if you are interested. Our campus in Boston is a nice balance of campus and city. We are right in the heart of the city, but we have, a 77-acre green space. Our campus, for anyone like me who went there many years ago, to hear that it is now officially an arboretum is quite humorous. I don't think there was grass on the campus when I went there many years ago. But we have tours daily. I certainly would love to see you come and visit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Phil Baird, first-year admissions counselor for UMass Amherst. So UMass is the flagship university of Massachusetts. We are a 2-hour drive away from Marshfield, out in Amherst. Beautiful area, rural town, very rural area, but it's like the definition of a college town. UMass has about 23,000 undergraduate students, about 7,000 additional graduate students. So we are, by far the largest school within New England. We have over 100 majors to choose from. We have over 80 minors to choose from. You can double major, you can dual degree. I had a friend that triple majored while we were students there. That seems like a lot of work, so I would suggest not triple majoring unless you obviously can handle it. There's over 400 different clubs to get involved in. We have #1 dining in the country. 8 straight years we have been ranked the best college food in America by the Princeton Review, so it's a legit ranking. It's not just us saying our food is good, it is really that good. Parents and families get to eat when your student comes to UMass. You guys get to eat for free, so that's a big perk of sending your student to us. I'm a proud alumnus. I just graduated 2 years ago. I've been working for them since. I'm also the representative for Marshfield High School. I don't necessarily read for your applications, but I'm the one that comes and visits. Well, at least I visited this past fall, and I will be visiting this next fall. So, yeah, a little bit about UMass. We'll talk more, obviously.
Hi,
good evening, everyone. My name is Liza Goodman. I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Admission at College of the Holy Cross, and I have been lucky enough to be the rep for Marshfield High School for the past 4 years, so very familiar with the school and what your school has to offer. A little bit about Holy Cross. We are located in Worcester, Massachusetts, the heart of the Commonwealth, second largest city in New England. Holy Cross itself is a small undergraduate Jesuit Catholic liberal arts college. That's a lot of buzzwords, but we have a student population of about 3,200 students. Average class size is 19. Student to faculty ratio is 10-1. We are a liberal arts school, so that really does mean that we value, learning for the sake of learning and making connections across disciplines and making sure that our students are coming out of their 4 years of their undergraduate career as very well-rounded and wanting to be lifelong learners. So at Holy Cross, we actually don't accept or give out offers of admission based on major, so every first-year student at Holy Cross does come in undeclared. We do allow you to remain undeclared through the end of your sophomore year, so 2 full years of your academic career at Holy Cross. You could remain undeclared if you choose to. A little bit more about us, we are a fully residential campus. There's over 100+ clubs and organizations to be a part of, and we are a Division I school with 27 varsity men and women's sports teams, as well as club and intramural sports. So there really is a lot to do both on campus and off campus in the city of Worcester as well.
Excellent, thank you so much. So to get this started, we're just going to go through some general overall admissions questions that we have here. I'd like to start off with, can you all, well, I don't know if you want all of us or how you want to do this, but if you kind of talk about what kind of qualifications do you look for in an applicant?
Yeah, so I believe that we all do this the same thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but we all read holistically. Is that correct? Yeah, okay, cool. I think every college does it. So everything matters, right? It's not one specific part of the application that's going to get a student in or denied. It really is the entire piece of the puzzle, right? We look at the GPA, the transcript, the rigor of the classes. We look at the activities, the essay, the letters of recommendation. Everything that you're going to fill out on the Common Application, which obviously most of you guys are probably juniors, you can't look at the Common App yet, but you will see that relatively soon. August will be here before you know it. But yeah, we're looking for a well-rounded student, right? Someone who is a strong student in the classroom, taking challenging classes in high school, while also being involved in their community and in their school. I think one thing, we're definitely going to talk about this later on for the activities, is get involved in whatever you want to get involved in, right? Don't go join a club because you think college wants to see it. We want to see what you guys are interested in. We want to see what you're passionate about and what you choose to spend your time doing. So yeah, just well-rounded student. That's kind of what we're all looking for each of our schools.
Thank you. What is your insight on extra letters of recommendation? We often have students that ask, should I have my coach, my boss at my job write a letter? What are your thoughts on that?
Holy Cross requires 2 forms of a recommendation, one from a college counselor and one from a teacher. That does not mean that you are not allowed to submit more if you like. I actually, when I talk about extra recommenders, I do recommend specifically that. Choosing a recommender who maybe is a coach or an employer or a pastor at your church or a piano teacher who you've worked with since you were 5 years old, someone who knows you in a different light and has a different perspective of who you are as a person. If you submit 5 extra recommendations from all of your core teachers in your senior year of high school, I will gladly read them. It does not necessarily mean that it adds a different layer to the application, if that makes sense.
So something to add to that is that it doesn't always have to be the class that you did the best in, that's who should write your letter of recommendation. Sometimes the best letter of recs that I've read is a student who really struggled in the class, but it was clear that they put the work in and they put effort in and they went to office hours and they reached out to the teacher and they made all that extra commitment to the class to get their grade back up to a higher grade which they were wanting to get. So again, it doesn't always have to be the straight A classes that those teachers are writing their letter of rec. Sometimes it can be the classes that you're struggling in, but again, like putting in a lot of effort in, because that shows more as, you as your work ethic, your character, and that's what we really want to see out of the letters of rec.
I have a question for you guys. So we have mostly juniors here, I think even some sophomores. What advice would you give them right now, kind of just starting off the process in terms of kind of before they get into the application? And as you said, I know they can't start the Common App yet, but what are some of the important things that they should be doing now, their junior year, into the spring and over the summer?
What I would recommend most is you have the opportunity to really get involved. I don't think any of us can stress enough, it really is something we look at. I tell students all the time, being a good student is a baseline. We're looking at what are you bringing to our community as a person. Every study ever done on education shows that students that are involved are happier and they thrive and they're more successful in college. So you really do want to take the time to get involved. I would agree with what you said, join something you enjoy. Don't join every club for 2 weeks, that looks terrible on an application. Pick a few things, and stick with them. That's really important, we really do look at those things. And when you're doing your application, you get your activities list, you have my permission to brag. This is where you want to take credit for everything you've done.
My advice is to use your resources. Your counseling team is fantastic, so definitely use your counselors, go chat with them, talk about what you're thinking about applying or what your next step might be, whatever that might be. And also use your resources on the college side as well. Like, that's what we're here for. Most universities all kind of have counselors for different geographic territories and areas, and so look up and see like who is the counselor for this region, and then ask them questions, talk to them. There's so many virtual options nowadays, so if you can't get to a school and visit in person, at least go for a virtual visit, go on the online campus tour, or better yet, go in person and go to the schools. That's also a great way to really get firsthand, like, this is what I want and what I don't want to. That's all a part of it, is figuring out like what's most important to you too. Is distance important, finances, academic area, so kind of narrowing down so you're not just looking at schools to look at schools, but looking at schools that have what you need to succeed.
I would also say do your research, so narrowing down your list, and as you said, factoring in what's important to you. On paper, a lot of schools are going to look and sound the same. Go to the campuses. You have the opportunity now where you are juniors, where you are sophomores. It's not too early to start looking, so go and visit those campuses, because that's how you're going to know if you can see and feel yourself being on this campus, living there, commuting there, taking classes there. And just really narrowing down what it is that you are looking for, as well as what the school is looking for from you. You'll find that throughout the application and admission process, different schools are going to require different things from you. So if you can have a better understanding of that earlier now while you have the time, it'll be easier for you going into the fall when you are a senior and you're involved in all of your commitments while also trying to balance your classwork and apply. So if you have an understanding of what is required ahead of time, that will make it a little bit easier and more organized for you.
And then I just want to reiterate the fact of taking tours, especially if you're a junior, take tours during the junior spring semester. If you push it off to the summer, we all know nothing ever happens in the summer when you plan for it, right? So it's not going to happen in the summer, and then by the time that the fall comes around, you're going to be really busy with applying to colleges that you don't really have time to go tour colleges. So go take days off from school, go on the weekends, go tour colleges during junior spring semester, because it won't happen in the summer.
Thank you. That's actually very validating, because that's one of the things that we tell our students and the parents to do quite often is to tour. Right? They got to see the campus. And actually, we give Marshfield High School students 3 excused absences for college visits, so take advantage of it. Just like Phil said, take a day off of school and go see the campus, especially while it's in session. And a question I want to ask, kind of in relation to that, you're all within, I think we decided, 4 hours of here. So if a student from Marshfield, who's either 35 minutes away or 4 hours away, doesn't come see your campus, is that a red flag? No. Because it's one of the things we tell them is like, show that demonstrated interest, like go see the campus, let them know you've been on campus. So it's interesting to see maybe say no.
as the resident furthest one away, I will name at every school is really different. At University of Vermont, we do track a bit of that demonstrated interest, I'll be honest, but it doesn't mean you need to come in person to UVM. It's a trip, you know. So that's why we have virtual options, interacting with us, introducing yourself to that counselor, and then also this is kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but in our application, we have an optional short answer prompt. There's a lot of different options you can pick from, I think like 5 different options. That's another way to show that you're interested in UVM specifically by doing it. So we don't expect everyone to make it out to campus, you know, that's a lot. But there's a lot of other touch points where you can raise your hand and be like, I am interested in UVM.
Yeah, to just go off of what Asia is talking about, is demonstrated interest is something that we are able to track in a variety of different ways. So I've seen a lot of my colleagues up here at the fall college fair that Marshfield has every September, and that is a great way to come and talk to us while we're physically at your school. And Holy Cross, a lot of us, we are able to grab your information and put it in to an event specifically saying that I talked to a student on September 23rd, 2024 at the Marshfield High College Fair. And when that application comes up in January, we're all app reading right now, I will remember that I talked to that student and see that they were able to interact with me. Demonstrated interest comes in so many different forms, from talking at college fairs to visiting campus, and yes, being about an hour and a half away, I would recommend taking the time to visit. There are so many other schools in Worcester as well that you could knock out a bunch in one day with those 3 excused absences that Marshfield is granting you. Interviewing as well, if your school offers, if the school that you're applying to offers it, even if it's optional, that's a great way to show that you are interested in the school that you're applying to. And for Holy Cross specifically, that's something we're really looking for, is that you're interested in us as much as we are interested in you.
I have a question. I'm sorry. What about social media? So I know we live in very much a digital age. What are your admissions criteria, or are you looking at students who are following your pages, liking it, sharing it, engaging, posting? Is that playing into your algorithm at all and what admissions is going for?
You know, it's so funny. When I was applying to colleges, my dad was like every single Facebook of a school that you're applying to, and I have never unliked them. So there's a bunch of colleges that I never ended up going to that I know everything that's going on their campus, which is wonderful. But I personally, we don't have any of that tracking data. All I would be able to know is if perchance a student emails me, or Holy Cross also has an optional response form where if someone says, oh, I watched Holy Cross on their TikTok page and loved it, and then I send it to our marketing person and go, good job. So it's really not something that we are able to track. I don't know if anyone has that ability.
We don't track social media, but again, as far as ways to sort of gain points, if you will, for demonstrated interest. One of the big ones we look at is, do you open the emails that we send you? We track that very much. I also, on the flip side of that, we do not track how many times you email us. There are always that student who says, hi, I talked to you last week, I still want to go to Northeastern. That doesn't get tracked. And I don't say that so people don't email. Obviously, if you have questions, please reach out. But there are a number of things. Social media is very, very tough to monitor and know who's really using it. So that's one of the issues with it. You know, someone could hack into a student's phone and just connect them to a million different things. But emails, things more traditional forms of communication. If you log in to do a virtual visit or a virtual engineering department session, you have to log in so it's all tracked. So all of those things are positive.
On that note, one of the things that we like to tell the students to do, their junior year especially, is create a new email. Maybe a new Gmail, something simple that you can use as a fresh account that you can track all of this, because it's important not to miss these emails. And if their Gmails, anything like my Gmail, I have about 40,000 unread emails sitting in there right now. I am one of those people that don't delete them. So it's just a good way to start fresh and be able to track everything. So that's definitely something that we recommend.
Can I just make a comment? on that too. With the emails, a couple things actually. So typically your student email for your high school gets shut off at some point, so that's also another reason why you should open a new one. If you are opening a new one, it's preferable that you keep it appropriate. I've gotten emails from Dragon Slayer 87 and I don't know who that is. I know, and then they like will email as if it's like a text, and so I just encourage students to use proper email etiquette, introduce yourself, especially if we've met and talked before, so I know who I'm talking to, because as you said, we will remember if we've had a conversation with you, so just keep that in mind. And sometimes too with the school, the firewalls might block some of our emails coming in too, so that's another reason why you might want to consider setting up a separate email.
Do you look at applicants' social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram?
UVM doesn't, unless a student's really proud of their account and they put it in their activities list, but often not. And they like describe it a little bit. That's the only like contact to social media we would get.
Yeah, we'd like to open up to questions from you guys too, students or parents, if you have any questions, if I can run the mic back and forth. Any questions? Ms. Baker?
I did put a question in the, Google form, so I don't know if you're planning to read it, but I'll just say it now.
Yeah, you can ask it now.
Okay, so I've been hearing more and more about how private high schools are more highly sought after from some universities for admissions, which is really frustrating for us public school kids and parents, because some of our kids we feel like deserve the same opportunities and are working just as hard. So I guess the question would be, since admissions officers often go to private schools first, say Exeter or some place that's really highly lauded, how do we then set ourselves apart from those kids? Is there anything aside from doing the things you say we do here, take rigorous course load or, involved in the community? Are there things we could do to set ourselves apart from the private school kids?
Well, I saw that question in the Google Doc and was really hoping I get a chance to answer it. I mean, I've heard that is truly a bit more urban legend than fact. I mean, I know in our office, yes, there are certain schools that are, very high-flying, well-known, and we will be in touch with them. It does not mean their students have a leg up on your students as far as admission goes. Every year, and I'm sure my colleagues will say the same, will speak to very unhappy counselors from very expensive private schools, and their students did not get the decisions they had hoped to get. I know in our office, we have expectations that you will be visiting public schools, you will be visiting low-resourced public schools, specifically so that it is a fair process for all. There are advantages, yes. Some of these schools will have specific college counselors, and that's all they do, and they can dedicate more time. That's an advantage. It does not mean the students are more likely to be admitted. I know, and I can probably speak for everyone, it is really an important part of what we do that everyone gets a fair chance to be admitted. I probably visit more public schools than private schools when I'm on the road, just because, those are the students who probably need to speak with us and hear from us the most. I hope that allays some of your concerns, but I saw that, I gotta answer that one. And please, anyone who wants to add to that.
I'm just gonna reiterate what I said earlier, fantastic counseling team here. They are great, okay? I've interacted with Marshfield High School students for the past 4 years, and they know what they're doing. So I just wanna name, really lean on your folks here.
I think another thing, so when we review applications, we also see a school report from each high school, right? So the counseling department will send over that into each of the applications, and then we can read through that school report to get an idea of that specific high school that the student's attending. Again, just to give more context to the student's application as to where they just spent 4 years in high school, what classes were offered, especially when it comes to honors and AP classes. Right, not every school can offer, there's plenty of schools out there that just don't offer any APs. There's also plenty of schools out there that offer classes that every single class is taught at an honors level, right? You don't have an option for just a college prep course. So that all plays into the context of it. But no, we don't value private over public or public over private. It's high school, you know, yeah.
Thank you.
A couple things. Number one, I just wanted to, if you could talk a little bit about the college essay and what kind of themes you look for there. And then the second thing was those of you who look at test scores, a little bit about the test optional, or if you want the test score.
So for the test score, so UMass Amherst, we are test optional, so completely up to the student. If they choose to send in their test scores, we will look at them. If they don't send them in, we don't think twice about it. You didn't send in your test scores, we just move on after that, right? So it doesn't hurt the student if they don't send the test scores in. As far as the essay goes, I think that the essay is where students feel the most pressure and feel the most overwhelmed for it, and I don't think that they should feel overwhelmed for the essay. What we like to see in the essay is to learn more about the student's personality and character, and more about them as a person, right? I have read a lot of essays this year specifically that are like research papers that have like citations in the essay, and at the end, there's been a couple with like bibliographies at the end. I don't need to read that, right? I don't need to be learning about like the molecules of some cell, right? Like I went through chemistry, didn't do great in it, so I don't need to do it again. But those types of research papers, that's something that you'll do once you get into college, and the professors are going to read those, not the admissions counselors. So I would much rather see a personal story about a student, something that has a life-changing event in their life, or just like some core memory, something that tells me about the student. I will say one of the best essays that I read, it was last year. It was a student that they talked about the different memories that they think of when they see different colors, right? So they talked about like 10 different colors, and then that was 10 distinct individual memories that I was able to learn about the student from when they were 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 16, 17, right? Throughout their entire life, right? That was a great essay because we were able to learn so much about the student, as opposed to, trying to sound really smart with all these big words and, scientific stuff. And then we just have to end up Googling what those words mean like every other sentence, which then I then get confused as to what I was reading once I go back to the Common App, and then I have to reread the essay, and then it just causes more issues. So yeah, kind of the simpler the better, I think. And it really just, like, we want to learn about the student. That's what we're looking for.
So I would just make 2 quick points. Around test scores, with most schools being test optional, one of the things we're seeing is that only students with exceptionally high scores are submitting them. So what we used to call the middle 50% has artificially blown up on us. So what I always recommend to students, whatever schools you're really serious about applying to, go to the website, call the admissions office, but find out what their middle 50% of test scores were. You need your scores to be in that range, preferably high in that range. And you will find in one school your scores will be very competitive, at another school they will not. And a lot of it's just the size of the applicant pool and things out of your control. On the essay, one piece of advice I always give students, we also use it to get a sense of who you are, but don't focus your essay on something that I can see in other parts of your application. If I go to your activities list and you've played for 3 different soccer teams, I know you like soccer, and it's a big part of who you are. And no shade on soccer, I love the game, but don't write your essay about soccer. You're just wasting an opportunity to tell me more about yourself. So you want to use the essay to bring in something new, something I won't know from other parts of your application.
I was like, feedback, okay, former theater kid. Okay, so for EVM, we're test optional still for you all. We're still in our test optional trial for applicants up through 2026 counselors. Ditto everything that was said. Look up the middle 50%. For UVM, it's like, if you submit your test scores, they need to be sent from the testing agency directly. You'll get more into that next year, but with your counseling team. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, if you send them, we can't unsee them, is what I'm saying. So it's like when you're thinking about whether or not to send them, like yes, in the upper echelon of the 50% of the school that you're applying to, and then like put that up against your transcript too. You know, I've seen instances where someone sends their scores and then it kind of brings their whole academic profile down when they could have been fine with just their transcript. So kind of think about that too. I'm like, does my transcript speak for itself, or will this test score enhance my academic profile? And then one bit for the essay is about you. It's not about someone else. So I definitely like encourage you to kind of like think about, am I telling my family story? Am I telling a friend's story? Or am I telling my story? Of course, you can be influenced by people in your life. We're human. But definitely kind of think about like, okay, how did this impact me specifically? And like, what actions do I take? Not what actions does my friend take or my family members take?
BSU is also test optional. So we can be test blind. So if you send them to us and they don't benefit your application, we can just kind of throw them up, pretend we didn't see them. So again, it is totally up to the student if they want to send them. If a student applies early action and they are deferred to the regular decision pool, we might request that you consider sending them if you think that they will benefit for that re-review for regular decision. And yes, 100% to the point about kind of keeping your essay about yourself and also just remembering like what your message is. BSU is like optional everything. The only main requirements are the application and the high school transcript. But if you do send a personal essay, that is, I guess my advice is just to remember like what your message is, like keep it consistent. I've read essays from students who they kind of jump around from point to point and I lose like what the message is overall, what they're trying to convey to me. So I think that's important to consider.
I won't talk for very long because all of my colleagues up here have done a wonderful job. I think this is just a good time to work for Holy Cross, so we'll promote what we do, but I'm sure all of these institutions have something along these same lines. Holy Cross does do essay writing and interview workshops in the month of July as well as in the fall on some select Saturdays. So there are a lot of opportunities either in person or also virtually to sit and hear more from us about really what makes a strong essay, especially as you sort of get into those summer months and start to really think about what essay topic do I really want to write about? What am I actually going to say about myself in this application? And in terms of test scores for Holy Cross, fun fact, we've been test optional since 2005, so well before all of you students in the room were born. So we really truly have a strong foundation in reviewing applications with or without those test scores, and we have strong data to show us that the students that we admit to Holy Cross who don't submit their test scores are still as successful as students who were admitted to Holy Cross with test scores.
We have a question back. Question over here.
Hi, you've mentioned interviews a few times. Just wondering if that is a thing that is regularly done by most colleges, and when it happens, how it happens, where, etc. Thank you.
No, of course. Yes, when I talk about essays, I always end up, in demonstrated interest, I always end up talking about interviews because they sort of just tag team that way in our office. At Holy Cross, we do offer optional interviews. We are a small office, so there are only so many students that we can interview when we have thousands and thousands of applicants submitting to us every year, but we still are able to interview a lot of students. We do interviews from, you are the class of 2026, so it would be June 2025 all the way through December of 2025, and we do them 5 days during the work week as well as on select Saturdays as well, and we do them both in person on campus as well as virtually. So there are several options to sit and talk with a representative from Holy Cross. That could be an admissions counselor. We hire current seniors as senior admissions fellows to conduct interviews for us while we're on the road, and we do also have a strong selection of alumni who volunteer to do interviews as well. Interviews are a great way to sort of supplement that essay. I always say, don't rehash your resume in your essay because you only have 650 words to tell us a little bit more about yourself and to really speak towards who you are as a person. the interview is a great way to elaborate on all of the things that you've done in high school and outside of high school, both in the classroom and through your extracurriculars as well. And it's also a really, really great way to get your questions answered. You're getting one-on-one time with an expert on the institution that you're interviewing with. So it's a great way to sort of ask questions that you may have been uncomfortable to ask in a setting such as this, or at an info session, or on a campus tour. I don't know if anyone else does interviews, but.
UMass does not. We received about 53,000 applications, so that's just too many to do interviews for.
Yeah, the same, we do not, we don't offer interviews, and I'll see your 53,000 and raise you to 106,000.
We got 10,000 this year. That's the first time.
So BSU does do optional evaluative interviews as well. So we will do them for students who are currently seniors who have applied. You have to have applied. They, again, are optional. They're great for students who are on the cusp, maybe, of our admissions requirements. They're fully virtual, so you would sign up on our website, and we do it by last name, so you would just see who the admission counselor is with your last name and sign up for it. And it is a great opportunity it's very conversational. I think students get intimidated by the term interview, but it's just a chance for us to get to know more about your academic goals, and it's also a chance for you to kind of make sure we're a good fit for you, as well as share any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that. If it, on paper, we see your grades, and if there's something that we're missing context-wise, it's an opportunity for you to provide us that context. If you had a rough semester or there was external factors playing into that, it's a great opportunity to share that with us so we can take that into consideration. And we have certainly seen those interviews push students who are on the cusp into admissions.
I think we have a question right here.
Hi, I had been told by someone that a lot of the colleges tend to pick students from different schools, and I didn't really believe it, but then when we looked at the score of the program, I noticed that there are some schools that tons of Marshfield High School kids were accepted to. There are some schools that tons of Marshfield High School students applied to, and no one was accepted. And so it just kind of gave me, I just gave some validity to that, and I'm just wondering if you notice that you tend to have more students from certain schools, and if it's a coincidence or if it's based on, I know you mentioned that there was when you look at the school as a whole, you get the school reports, or is that what factors into that, or?
Go ahead.
I will say that I think there are a lot of factors to what you are seeing. So we might have schools, we call them feeder schools, so areas where we see a lot of applications, so therefore we have a lot of admits from that school. We are not, at least I don't want to speak for everybody else, but at BSU we are not picking particular schools that we're pulling students from. We are a school for the community, so we are looking at each school, each applicant as they come in, and if it just happens to be that we see a lot of students applying from Marshfield or from Plymouth or what have you, then we might see a lot more of those admits versus other schools where we don't get as many applications.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I just couldn't put it into words. So yes, same. Yeah.
To continue on that question, for some schools, like Holy Cross has seen increasing numbers of applications in the past 3 years. When I first started working at Holy Cross, I think we had around 7,500 people who applied, and this year we crossed the threshold of 10,000, which is great for us. And for a school where we look to have a class of around 830 students, so we sometimes it just becomes as simple as math, which is hard. More people applying, more likelihood that spots are going to be, that it's going to be harder to get in, unfortunately. But it's certainly not like a high school by high school thing. If the student fits the criteria that we're looking for, they will more than likely be admitted.
You have a question over here. Just one last thing for this question. So UMass, we read major by major, right? So the GPA requirement that we're looking for business is very different than English, different than history, right? They're different majors, they're different career paths, they're different futures, they're going to be different, requirements and things that we're looking for. So while the school report from Marshfield comes into play, we never look at Marshfield High and say, we got way too many Marshfield kids. deny, right? We don't do that, It's just in the content, is the student qualified or are they not based on that year within that specific major that they're going for? Again, there's some majors that are far more competitive than others, right? Nursing is the most competitive by far at UMass. I was a geography major. Not super competitive, believe it or not, right? Right, so it's much easier to get in for geography than for nursing, regardless of what school you go to. So yeah, it's a great major, by the way, super fun.
I was wondering if you could speak a little about the applications process of ED versus early action versus regular decision, especially going back to Anna's question about private schools. It seems like early decision, because it's binding, obviously benefits people who don't have to worry about financial aid, but how much of a detriment is it for a student to have to apply a regular decision because they have to wait for the financial packages to come out?
That's a great question. When we started doing early decision a few years ago, frankly, I hated it. I really didn't push anyone there, because it's a binding decision that is just out of reach for a lot of people. 3 years ago, Northeastern started offering early financial aid reads to early decision applicants, which is the first time I really started pushing it because I felt more comfortable with it. I would check some schools do that, some do not. So, as long as you meet deadlines, you'll get, and it's need-based aid only, scholarships are not included. But you'll have your need-based aid offer prior to being caught in a binding decision. We don't want anyone in a binding decision that it's ultimately not going to work for. It doesn't mean you're not going to come, we're not going to make you come, but it can hold you back in the process with other schools. That's why I think our team had pushed from day one to do some kind of early financial aid read to take some of that anxiety away. Early decision certainly gives you, a leg up in admit rates, and there's a lot of benefits to it, but it's not the right, it's not the right time for everyone to apply. I feel much better talking about ED, knowing you at least can get an award prior to being stuck in that decision.
At UVM, we just started doing early decision not too long ago too. And then this year we added early decision 2. So some schools have early decision 1 and early decision 2. Early decision and early action are around the same time for us in the fall. Early decision 2 is a little bit before regular decision in the spring or winter. And yeah, for us it's still new territory, but it doesn't really impact early action or regular decision folks that too much in terms of numbers and admits. But I would say, this isn't really financial related, but for numbers wise for UVM, early action is big for us. We get 17,000 or so early action applications, and then about 500 early decision applications. Our incoming class is 5% early decision, a lot of them Vermonters. So it's a little different at UVM. I know as a whole, all of us were impacted last year with FAFSA updates. So a lot of financial packages were late last year in general. This year we're back on course, which is awesome. So financial aid packages are rolling out for us in a timely manner for our university, so we're happy about that. But yeah, and then people who apply regular decision, just get your information in, get your paperwork in, and then you'll get your financial offer soon after. But yeah, contract stuff it's hard with the early decision binding agreement thing.
So UMass doesn't offer early decision. We only do early action and regular decision. There is the one really main difference between the two of those, that if you apply early action, we aren't going to see your senior fall grades, right? So you're showing us, freshman, sophomore, junior year. That is it. We'll see the classes and the schedule that you have for senior fall, but we're not going to see any of the grades. By the time that you would apply for regular decision, we will have the senior fall grades included in your transcripts. That's going to get factored into your GPA. So that's really up to the student. Like if you're happy with what your first 3 years of high school looks like, and that's the GPA that you want to show colleges, by all means apply early action. But if you had a down year or a down semester, and you really want those senior fall grades to be included because you're going to be on an upward trajectory, we all like seeing upward trajectories on transcripts. We want to see the GPA go up each year, and a more intense curriculum each year with higher level classes. You got to make sure that you hold off until regular decision for that. So that is the big difference between those, at least for us.
I realized I gave half of the numbers, not the full numbers, and we all were sharing our application numbers. So yeah, for us, like early action, as I said, was huge, about 17,000, give or take, and then out of our 30,000 applications. So then regular decision, the number is just a little lower. But yeah, I love that you're talking about the grade trajectory. Like if you feel you need more time and wanting to show us your senior year progress, maybe regular decision is a better option for you. But yeah.
And there really isn't, at least for UMass, there really isn't this huge advantage to apply early action as, it comes down to the acceptance rate. There is an advantage, but it's by a couple percentage points, right? It's not like it's a 60% acceptance rate for EA and a 10% for RD, right? It's 20 to 23%, right? Random numbers, obviously, but yeah, not some crazy advantage. We do see more early action applicants, about 33,000, and then about 20,000 regular decision applicants.
Is that the same across the board? Do you all see equal acceptance rate for, say, early action versus regular decision? No.
Equalish.
I will say too, BSU, we do have an early action and regular decision as well. If you're considering early action and you're, a 3.0 or higher, you're admissible. If you're below a 3.0, maybe a 2.7, 2.8, kind of right on that cusp, it's a good option because the Dean of Admissions likes to see that demonstrated interest, that you're applying early. So that is great for students who are kind of maybe right below that admission threshold. It's also it's very strongly encouraged for students who are looking into our aviation major. Our aviation major is our only competitive program, so you really are strongly encouraged to apply early action for that because there are limited spots for that program.
Kind of off of that, how about in terms of merit scholarships and applying early action, is there any benefit for applying early or regular decision in terms of merit money?
For BSU, we are across the board. When we recalculate your GPA, if you have a 3.4 or higher, you're getting at least $3,000 merit scholarship. So it doesn't matter if it's early action or regular decision.
Students at UMass are considered for scholarships equally no matter when they apply.
UVM, same scholarships no matter what time you apply.
You have a question back here?
For Bridgewater. For Bridgewater, can you talk a little bit about the Bridgewater commitment, which is for families under $125,000 and financially for that?
Yes, absolutely. So students that are applying, they have to submit the FAFSA for the Bridgewater commitment. So the Bridgewater commitment is households that are earning $125,000 or less will have the mandatory tuition and fees waived. So when you get the financial aid package breakdown, you'll see kind of a breakdown of where that funding is, but it's basically a combination of state and institution and federal funding. So in the award letters, we're kind of seeing those start to go out now, and it does kind of break down where that funding is coming from. But basically, yes, students who are applying for fall, they need to have applied through the FAFSA as well for that consideration. Students can still also receive merit scholarships, and that would be in addition to that Bridgewater commitment. So it's highly possible, depending on what the FAFSA student aid index is, it's possible that students could be getting a refund check back.
Hello, sorry, that was so loud.
Oh, you had a question?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I was wondering, in terms of when we're talking about GPAs for different schools and the recalculation, I guess I'm just a little confused about what that looks like from school to school. Does every college and university recalculate the GPA differently than every school does? And then, so how do we really know what we're looking at when we look at GPA?
I'll start. Holy Cross does not recalculate GPA, actually. We do not take every single applicant from all of the different schools that are applying to Holy Cross and recalculate them to put them all on the same scale because, again, every school is different. Some schools are on a 4.0, 100-point scale. Some have no GPA whatsoever. So for us, it really is all about the context of the high school, and we're very much using the school report, the school profile, as well as the applicant history that we have from all of the years that Marshfield students have been applying to Holy Cross in order for us to make the best decision around where are the students falling academically. So it really is all about context of the school. How many honors, AP courses are the students taking? What is the GPA that they have within the scale of Marshfield High? What's the highest GPA of a Marshfield High senior this year? That's really what we're looking at. So I can't speak to recalculating GPA. It's really all about the context of the student within the high school.
So we do go through every transcript and recalculate the GPA. It's a lot of fun. I actually do really enjoy it, yeah. And the reason we do that is because, kind of like the exact opposite of what you just said, is because schools grade differently. You can't compare 4.0 to a 5.0, that we get 8.0, there's international schools, there's homeschool transcript, there's letter grades versus numerical, right? So that's why we do recalculate that all. We will also go through the transcript and choose the classes that we're going to take. So we take the 4 or 5 core academic courses plus 1 elective. Classes we don't take are physical education, health, certain electives. New Jersey transcripts put driver's ed on their transcripts, so we don't take driver's ed, right? Can you drive a car? Cool. We don't care, right? So that's why the GPA that we see is going to be obviously a little different than what you guys see. There is no way that you can figure out the GPA that we see. You could probably reach out to us and ask, but like, I don't really see what the point of that. Anyways, you could do that, right? But yeah, so that's how we do it. So then everything's on an even 4.0 weighted playing field.
So at Northeastern, we also recalculate everyone's GPA. It's a pretty standard, pretty standard model. You get like a point for an AP or an IB higher level, half a point for an honors IB standard level, and then there's a lot of different, international curriculums, a lot of moving parts. But we do, partly because we have such a wide variety of schools we're dealing with, it's really important for us to do that recalculation. So again, it's pretty standard. I mean, again, similar to UMass, we'll take essentially all academic classes, electives. There's not many things that we won't take. Driver's ed would be one that we don't take. But yeah, it's pretty, for the most part, I bet you could figure it out yourself.
I would say we're pretty similar to Northeastern. We get applications far and wide, so a lot of that we bring it. Our average GPA of our incoming class last year was 3.8 on a 4.0 scale. But yeah, like everyone said, I know we lean really heavy on like the school profile that the schools will send us, so then we know what's offered, all of that, and then we'll take that into consideration while we're reading and recalculating. And yeah, we only consider core academic classes, math, science, history, English, and then AP classes as well, IB that you put under there, and then, yeah.
We do also recalculate, we do the 1 point for AP, IB, or dual enrollment courses, and then the half point for honors courses, and then that also does factor into, as I said, the merit scholarships when we're recalculating that. And similarly to what my colleague has said, if you have questions, you can call and ask like what the recalculated GPA is. Just note that we usually can't share that information with the parents, so it's encouraged for the students to call.
This isn't GPA related, but kind of going back to the test score thing, if you do send your test scores, we're also putting that up against your GPA too.
And then just for juniors, as you're going to be scheduling classes for senior year, make sure you're taking like a legit schedule of classes, right? We want to see like you're taking 4 academic classes, right? I've seen a lot of transcripts this year where their senior year is like 5 like fun electives, which is great, right? Take an elective, but like we do need to see a real senior year of like the core classes, especially if you're going for one of the competitive majors. We definitely need to see that on the transcript.
Just on that topic of majors, several of you have mentioned that you have some more competitive majors at your school, so if you could share what some of those competitive majors are and maybe how a student might know if they would be a good fit for that major at your school.
So for BSU, our only competitive major is that aviation program. As I said, due to the availability of planes and flight time, we can only admit a certain amount of students each year. That number does vary from year to year. And students who are applying, we're typically looking at about a 3.0 GPA, again, applying early action typically. We do have to, there are instances where students are not accepted into that program but are still accepted to the university. And typically, it's not typical that a student will come off of that wait list just because once the program begins, it's hard to catch up to that flight time. So again, another reason why that deadline is so, or that early action deadline is so important for that. Other than that, we're just admitting to the university as a whole.
At UVM, when you apply, you would be applying to a specific major in college. We have 7 different colleges at our university, and so we'll review based on that major in college. So the different colleges have different entrance requirements, so kind of different from my colleague here. You would be admitted to that major college, not just the university. You'll be kind of like an auto admit though. That's pretty neat. So like for instance, our nursing major is our most competitive, I would say. And so when you apply, you'd be just literally writing down nursing, and then when you get your letter, congrats, you're admitted to the nursing program. So there's no other extra steps that you'll need to do. When we're reviewing by major in college, we're looking at some extra things too. It's all online, but it's kind of what you'd expect. Like if you're applying to our engineering school, we need to see physics, we need to see bio, chem, and 4 years of math. So all of the different 7 colleges on our campus have different entrance requirements too. So definitely keep that in mind when you're organizing and developing your schedule for next year too.
Thank you. So at Northeastern, we actually have the exact same expectations of every major. And the reason we do that, I'm sorry, even if you apply to a specific major, you're still accepted to the university. So if you apply, come in as an English major and you decide you want to switch to physics, you can do it in a 5-minute process of just sending an email to your advisor. The only program with any prereqs is engineering. You have to have calculus, chem, and physics, but if you took those and you came in as an English major, you can go be an engineer. So it's really, there's no difference in requirements. What happens is each year, different majors get more applications. So that particular year, they might be more competitive just because there were more applications. Like with our health sciences, for the last couple of years, we talked about the Fauci effect. Everyone wanted to go into the hard sciences and the medical field coming out of COVID. So those schools became more competitive just because there were more applicants.
Yeah, our competitive majors are anything within the business schools, like accounting, finance, marketing, management, OIM, nursing, computer science, any of the engineerings, specifically mechanical engineering this year was extremely competitive, like it surprised all of us. Psychology, architecture, and biochemistry. And again, just because those are popular programs, we have tons of applications, and there's just like not enough physical space on campus, right? The classrooms are only so big, we only have so many dorms. That's why it gets more competitive. For the most part, it is the GPA that just will keep going up, and we're just looking for a higher GPA, but you still have to have, the well-rounded application, so we are also looking for a bit more of involvement within activities. We're looking for a bit more from the essay for those, competitive programs. And then nursing and business are the only majors that you cannot switch your major into. So for juniors, that's something to keep in mind. If you're interested in nursing or business, you have to apply in as a nursing or business major. If you are not accepted as nursing or business, you cannot then switch into nursing or business once you come to UMass. parents just be aware of that.
You mentioned Anthony Fauci, and I just have to say, Holy Cross class of 1966. He's
Is he a geography major?
He was actually a classics major, and now you know he's one of the top infectious disease doctors in the world. So just shows what a liberal arts education can do for you. We at Holy Cross do not admit by major, so none are competitive. So if you get accepted to Holy Cross, you come on in, you're undeclared, you can start declaring in the spring of your first year. If you want to be a chemistry major, hey, awesome. I've known people who have been chemistry majors up until the fall semester of their junior year and decided to do a complete 180 and be an English major and still graduated on time. So, you know, we really help our students find their path, and with our liberal arts curriculum and common area course requirement, it's very easy to pursue a lot of things at once. So very easy to double major or major and minor as well. Or major with a pre-med track like Anthony Fauci.
Obviously not for Holy Cross because you guys have everyone come in undecided, but for the rest of you, what does going in undecided look like at your school, and do you recommend that students who are truly unsure go undecided, or should they feel pressured to pick something type thing?
So I can start. So University of Vermont, in the 7 schools and colleges I was talking about earlier, there are undeclared options in those colleges, which is pretty unique. The only schools that don't have an undeclared option is our business school. It's just one major, business administration, and then you pick themes and concentrations, get the whole breadth and depth of business. And then our College of Nursing and Health Sciences is the only one where there's not an undeclared option. And you reminded me of nursing at UVM is also another one. You want to apply into it now. You can't transfer into it later. But we have undeclared options in the other schools. So I would say the most popular amount of applicants we get is undeclared to our College of Arts and Sciences. It's like our mini liberal arts school in the middle of our research university. And then we have undeclared options, let's say, like if you know you want to do engineering, but you don't know which realm of engineering you want to focus on, you can come in undeclared to the engineering school. You can come undeclared to our Rubenstein Environmental School, our agricultural school. All those other schools you can come undeclared. So if you know you want to be in a specific community and space, you can come in undeclared into one of those. But then if you change your mind and want to change your major, you totally can, unless it's nursing. And what's unique too at UVM is that even if you do come in undeclared, let's say to the College of Arts and Sciences, very common, you could take courses in the other schools and colleges, double major across schools and colleges, and then it'd be at the end of your sophomore year where you would pick a major. But yeah, I mean, if you really don't know and you really want to explore, undeclared is great. It's not like a disadvantage. It just shows that you want to explore a bit.
So we basically do the same exact thing as UVM. We just call ours exploratory tracks. So again, it's like you're undecided, but you're undecided within natural sciences. You like the sciences, but you don't know which one you want to do. You like the fine arts, you don't know which one. So that's how we do it as well. I would just like to say, like, to students out there, it is okay to be undecided. It's okay not to know what you want to do. I thought I was going to be a high school math teacher by the time I graduated college. I did really bad in all the math classes in college, so I switched to geography. Then I thought I was going to be a park ranger, and then since I was a tour guide, I ended up working in admissions, and I got a job through that, right? So it's okay to, change your career path and change your mind and everything. I know there's a lot of pressure on you by parents and teachers and counselors and people in your life to know what you want to do, and that's definitely important to have an idea, but it's okay to be a little unsure right now. Unless you want to do business or nursing, then you kind of got to figure it out. So, yeah.
We have a student question here, guys. I know you guys spoke about it earlier, but I was wondering, like, from your perspective, what's like the most effective way to show demonstrated interest? Like, for me, like, if I wanted to show, oh, I want to go to your school, how do I prove that to somebody like you?
Great question, thank you. So for us, we're not necessarily tracking demonstrated interest, but I think if you come to the college fairs that you have here on campus, if you come to a tour, we can see that you've done that. If you do an interview, that's another great way for us to see that you are really interested. So that's kind of like for us, I think some of the main key things that we might see that we might say, oh, this student really enjoys like interacting with us and is very interested. Our fall open houses too, and the admitted student days are also great opportunities too to show that interest.
Ditto everything. And then also just, yeah, reaching out to your counselor in the area that represents your area.
So I would say sort of the ultimate demonstrated interest is considering early decision. That being said, I don't want to twist anyone's arm to do that, but that is certainly the highest level of demonstrated interest. Short of that, because again, it's not the right fit for everyone. If you can visit,
Give it a second, it'll turn back on. Okay. The water turned off.
you know, short of early decision, you certainly can. Visit campus, visit virtually if it's a distant school, sign up for virtual activities, and open your emails. That's really the core of it.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, UMass, we don't track the demonstrated interest to factor into your admissions decision. We do track it just for, again, data purposes. The most helpful that the demonstrated interest will come in is if you're waitlisted. I would really suggest that you then send a letter of continued interest to us, saying like, hey, I still want to come here, right? Even though I'm on the wait list, if I were to be taken off the wait list, I would still love to attend UMass. It's, you know, I'm getting emails right now like it's my #1 school. Like, all I want to do is go there. That can help us. You know, it doesn't mean you're going to get taken off the wait list just because you sent a letter like that. But when we're reviewing applications again later on, when we are looking at the wait list to see who we can take off, something like that is going to stand out. You know, compared to other students who didn't send a letter of continued interest to us.
Yeah, I echo everything that my peers up here are saying. Definitely, specifically for Marshfield, talking to us at the fair is always great. I think sometimes like a college fair is great for exploratory purposes, but it also is great to continue to connect with your admissions counselor for a specific institution, especially going into the fall of your senior year. And especially when it comes to college fairs, fill out the inquiry card or the QR code. If you talk to us and you don't give me your information in some type of way, it will not really count. We do track emails, so emailing us is always something that we appreciate. We do track. You open your emails. Another thing that some people don't realize is you will get access to an applicant portal. We can see if you've set up your applicant portal. So sometimes if you don't set up your applicant portal, to me it sends a signal of, I don't know if we're really that much on their radar or if they just sent in this application at the very last minute for us. So that is another thing to be wary of, is to make sure that you're going to get those continued updates of like where your application is, being able to check your checklist on like where the recommendations are, your test scores if you're submitting them, et cetera, but really taking a campus tour, talking to us at fairs, interviewing with us if the institution offers it.
I was going to ask you guys, we have at our school here at Marshfield, for our students, we have a great after-school tutoring program that's available for kids. So if they need extra help in any subject, really, they can attend the after-school tutoring program. Can you talk a little bit, maybe just at each school, what type of resources you have in terms of academic support for kids who might be struggling in a certain class or maybe just need that extra help?
Yeah, so I struggled a lot when I was at UMass, so I'm very familiar with all the extra resources. So as far as like extra tutoring goes, tutoring is free for every single student on campus. Every single class that UMass offers, we also offer tutoring for. So I had done it very, very, very poorly in Calculus 2 and Calculus 3. But first and foremost, Calc 2. Calc 1 wasn't great either, but Calc 2, hence why I changed my major, right? So it's okay if you don't love what you're doing, you can switch. So I went to my professor, actually. All of our professors are required to hold office hours. I went to him, I talked to him about how I was struggling and things just weren't really clicking. So he got me in contact with the Learning Resource Center, which runs our tutoring on campus. I was then paired with a student who had taken Calculus 2 from the exact same professor that I had the previous semester. So he was able to tell me, like, this is how the professor is doing his tests, this is what he expects from you, this is how he wants you to do these problems, you know, all this stuff, like giving me, you know, the kind of like insider knowledge, right? We also offer supplemental discussion sections, which is basically just group tutoring. There's the, something I'm blanking on. It's more like, you know, extra help. And again, like there's like 10 different types of tutoring at UMass. So again, you just kind of have to be your biggest advocate, right? Like once you are struggling, not even struggling, but you get a grade that you aren't happy with, right? You wanted an 85 on a test and you got an 80. You wanted the 85, so go to office hours, talk to your professor. If you show that professor that you're making the effort, that you want to do better and you want to put in more effort, they're going to pick up on that, and then that's going to just, you know, help out in the long run. So be your biggest advocate.
Sorry. At BSU, all faculty are required to have at least 2 days where they're doing office hours, at least 1 hour a day. We do also have an academic achievement center that is free to use. It's included in your tuition and fees. So that houses our tutoring. Any class that you're struggling with, you can request a tutor. We have our writing studio in there, our communications lab, our math lab, a lot of different resources for particular classes. Some of the classes have a PAL, so a peer assisted learner. It's a student who's taken the class already, who has done exceptionally well, and they take it again with you, and they actually host study groups. They help go over assignments, things like that. We do also have an excellent student accessibility office, so any students who have a documented disability or on an IEP or a 504 can receive similar accommodations on campus. They can let us know that they have an IEP and submit a copy of that, and then once a student is admitted and enrolled, they will do a meeting with the student to go over what accommodations they can provide.
Can I ask you a question on a related note? So when an applicant who has a diagnosed disability chooses to disclose that he or she has a disability, so you mentioned the IEP, how about an evaluation, doctor's note, what information are you looking for from a student who's disclosing a disability?
Yeah, so students typically need an evaluation within the last 2 years. And then basically, again, when they are doing that sit-down meeting, they will go over the particular accommodations that the student needs and that they will be able to accommodate for the student, if that makes sense.
I'll answer both.
Hello?
I'll answer both. Okay, so similarly to my colleagues, we have the Center for Academic Success on our campus, tutoring for all your classes. Our professors also have office hours, and also majority of classes are taught by full-time professors, which is great. But you might have a TA, teaching assistant, and so that could be a grad student. Also, undergrads can be teaching assistants, so that's super neat, and so that's another resource for you as well. If you have any questions, they might even host study groups. But yeah, office hours, your TA, student accessibility, or Center for Academic Success, and then we also have the writing centers as well. You can go in and get help on your essays. I'm also a current part-time graduate student, so I use the Graduate Writing Center a lot. They're awesome. We go through my essays. And then we also have their Student Accessibility Services office as well, similar processes. As for application review, we just trust you. If you write about something in your essay, or we also have additional information sections in everyone has in the common application, the template that you'll use next year. There's an additional info section some students might disclose, or a counselor. So it's a little different for us for application review, but once you're enrolled and you're coming to UVM, it'd be a little more formal and have to submit that paperwork.
We have a student question here?
I was wondering, if I'm admitted and then I join the National Guard and have to start in the spring, would that be an issue?
Well, I'll jump on that. I'm our military liaison. It could potentially, we only have, and I can only speak for Northeastern, we only have fall sessions where you can start. So it would push you off to the following fall. I mean, we get a lot of, I work with a lot of active duty students, but they tend to be cycling in for the fall. But you're actually, it's kind of a unique question where you'd be out for the first semester. It could potentially end up turning into almost like a gap year, where you could be admitted, but you wouldn't actually be able to start until the following fall. We don't, I'm saying that, I mean, we do have students who come in from other programs in September. I guess for us, you know, you would probably go through me and I would push to help, and then try to sell them on the idea of letting you start in the spring. Usually incoming students have to start in the fall. But again, when it comes to military matters, they tend to be pretty good and show some flexibility, which may or may not help at all the way I just answered that. So I guess I just gave you a definite maybe. That, you know, we would try to work with you, but honestly, I couldn't guarantee you could come in the spring.
At UVM, if you're admitted, you can ask to defer a year or a semester. This is even for any other reasons too. So every school is different though. So yeah, of course ask. But yeah, you can ask to defer a year or semester for us for any circumstances.
That was awesome, thank you. We've got some really great information. One of the things I'm not going to back off of, despite what they might have said, is if any of you here are planning on applying to any of these schools, you need to get on that campus. Don't just do it virtually. Go on the campus, see what they have to offer. And we're going to kind of wrap this up, but before we do so, I'm going to ask you if you each go around and tell me one thing, whether it's Antonio's Pizza and Blue Wall Cookie in Amherst, whether it's going to see a hockey game at Northeastern, and tell me what it is. What's the takeaway from your area, your region, your campus that you really want a student to experience, to get that full effect of what it's like to be a student?
I think for BSU, I always say to students, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. If you're a commuter student or if you're a resident on campus, does not matter. If you're someone who goes to classes and goes back to your room, that will be your experience. If you are someone who pushes yourself out of your comfort zone, you get out of your room, you get to meet people on your floor, you go to events, you join clubs and organizations, then you will have a really excellent and fun experience. This is a chance for you to discover new things, build and develop new skills, and really discover what it is that you like and what you want to do outside of the four walls of college. So I always encourage students to get involved, get out and get to know people, because you don't know what you will discover that you love. And for BSU, it's such a friendly campus community, so to shut yourself off from that would be a disadvantage to yourself.
At UVM, I always say a typical UVM student is someone who's really engaged and involved in their communities and wants to make an impact. And so at UVM, our students have so many different interests. There's not really like one social thing that like dominates the social scene. Like we have students who are really interested in sports. Like we just won the NCAA championships for soccer. That was awesome. We had a whole rally downtown. And then we have folks who are like awesome musicians. They're creating bands in the dorms and then performing downtown. So really like when you come to campus, go to the club fair. It lasts 3 days because we have like 275 plus clubs and organizations. Join everything, go to the meeting, see if you like it, see if you don't, and figure that out. And also really get involved in the Burlington community and go downtown. If you're coming to visit, go around downtown, walk around, see the houses downtown, go down by the waterfront, have a creamy, it's soft serve, but better. And go into a forest, go touch some grass. So yeah, that's like I would say with UVM, you want to really just like interact with the space because this will be the community that you're living in. And so it's not just about the school, it's about the place. So definitely come check us out.
So at Northeastern, our students tend to say that, you know, the city of Boston is an extension of our campus. And we definitely encourage students get out into the city. It is an incredibly international city, amazing, you know, music and art scene and food scene. Whatever your interests are, it could be sports, it could be the arts, you know, get off campus, get out into the city and see and explore it. And you know, it's one of the top visited cities in the world. And if you're living there, take advantage of that and find out why it's one of the most visited cities in the world.
Yeah, I think similar to what everyone said so far is just take advantage of what is offered to you at the school. I mean, at UMass, there's over 400 different clubs you can get involved in. If you don't like one of the clubs, just stop doing that club, go join another club, or go start your own club, or you can always be trying new things, meeting new people. It's a big school, but it feels a lot smaller once you start going there, once you start getting adjusted to campus. It's going to be overwhelming at first. Honestly, every single school that you go to is going to be overwhelming at first. So it's really just putting yourself out there, stepping out of your comfort zone, and just being part of that big school feel with a wonderful college town, a 5-minute walk away. Amherst really is just an amazing place to be a college student because the school dominates the town. And there's 4 other colleges around us as well. You can take classes at those other schools. I didn't talk about that today, but you can take classes at those different schools, same price as UMass as in-state students. You're not paying those private school tuitions. You're not going to go bored at UMass. I always tell people that. The only way you would go bored is if you just hate trying new things and hate everything. But that's more of a you problem than a UMass problem. So just give it a shot. College really is the best 4 years of your life. I did 5 years in college. So if you can kind of work your way through and do an extra 5th year, that'd be smart to do if it's cool with your parents. But just take advantage of it because it goes by really fast. So.
I don't know why I keep having to follow Phil. I can't agree enough that a lot of us are very close to you all here in Marshfield, so getting the opportunity to come to our campuses and really getting a sense of the geography, the location, the city, and the campus community is really important. I've said for the 4 years that I've been working as an admissions counselor at Holy Cross that I have tried and failed multiple times to put into words how special the Holy Cross community really is. And if there's one thing that you can really get a sense of at Holy Cross is the community when you come to tour physically. We will talk about the community time and time again at your college fairs, at high school visits, on webinars that we do, if you're talking to current students or alumni that you may know. But there really is something so special and profound about the community at Holy Cross. I have not spoken very much at all about our Jesuit Catholic tradition, but being a Jesuit Catholic institution, one of our sort of mottos and key cornerstones of our education at Holy Cross is this idea that we want to be people-formed with others. And that's really something that permeates throughout every facet of our campus community, from academics to residential life to student life to the staff and the groundskeepers that work on our campus as well. There's such a wonderful community at Holy Cross, and coming to visit really is the way that you're going to get a sense of that for yourself.